Rob will edit this first part. So
I got it. I'm good.
all right, here we go, guys. Rob will edit this first part. Hey, Stand Tall with Dave Brown. I'm here with my wife Judy and our good friend Don Powers. Don, I'm gonna let you introduce our guest today.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. So yesterday I'm talking to my brother Ray out in Colorado, and he had gone to the rally in Colorado, and he was telling me all about it, and he was super excited, and it was just a great story. And I thought everybody really get a kick out of hearing it because it was just, I don't know, I was smiling the whole time. So this is my brother Ray out in Colorado. Ray Powers, how you doing, brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing awesome.
I'm so excited to hear your story. I can't wait to go to a rally.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. I guess I'll just kind of launch into it if you want.
Yeah, tell us about it and where it happened and some other good information.
Yeah. So, we got, some sort of notice. I'm not sure exactly where, social media or something like that. And so me and several friends, we all signed up, our wives signed up, and we got, tickets, if you will. It basically is kind of reserves a spot for you, but it really is just I think for them to gauge how many people are going to go. So we sign up and everybody takes off work. It was on Friday, and we get up there pretty early. So Trump is set to talk at about 1 p.m. and we got up there about 8, something like that in the morning, because we knew it was going to be, we figured it would be a lot of people, a lot of traffic, that sort of thing. So we wanted to get up there a little bit early and, make sure we got seats. And boy, we should have got there a lot earlier. And so we get into Aurora, Colorado. It's about, I'd say it's about 35-minute, 40-minute drive for us. And we get there, and they had a designated area about 4 miles away from the venue, and where we were all supposed to park. So we, and it's just jam packed. So it takes a long time to kind of get into the parking structure. And so we get there, and there's I think more people than we ever thought, more people than they ever thought, because it was kind of pandemonium, and it was going to take a considerable amount of time too. They set up a shuttle system, so to take you from the parking over to where the venue is. We knew that was going to take a long time, so we just said, screw it, we're all gonna walk. So we walk 4 miles to this to the venue. And, you look around, you go, a lot of people have the same idea as us. And it was just an absolute migration from the parking area 4 miles across. Some of it was like, roads and stuff like that, a main thoroughfare. And then it was like off the beaten path through kind of like scrub oak and all kinds of stuff. And it really looked like we were making a mad dash for the border, I tell you. And I made a couple of jokes like that, and the whole crowd was laughing and things like that. But it was awesome. It was total solidarity. There were so many people walking, and really that's just every kind of person, every walk of life. There were people walking this 4 miles with oxygen tanks, with walkers, in wheelchairs. I mean, there was nothing that was going to stop these people. It was really, really impressive.
So people were really anxious to see Donald Trump speak and just to see him live, and all different kinds of walks of life.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that anxious is definitely, a correct word for it. But it was more like there was determination on these people's faces. Like, we talked to several people, and there was nothing that was going to stop these people. They see it, a lot of them see it as, this is the last chance, man. This is going to save our democracy. And when you talk to some of those older folks like that literally are on oxygen tanks and wheelchairs and stuff like that, and you hear it from their perspective, that there's conviction in their voice. And like I said, nothing's going to stop them from walking 4 miles like that. So, yeah, unbelievable.
I mean, 4 miles alone, it's a good hike, right?
It was a good hike for me.
Pretty warm, right? Too, was it?
Yeah, it was like 81 degrees, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty.
yeah, real warm. Sun was out. So for us, it was great. You know, it wasn't a problem because you know, we're just like making an event of the whole day. So got to meet lots of people, and everyone just really nice to one another. Nobody rude, nobody cutting in front of each other, that kind of a thing. It was all like, you know, you go to a big concert or something like that, you get some people that aren't the nicest people, but not a single person was like that. It was respectful, and it was just great to see like-minded people there, and just the determination to get to the venue was awesome.
You know, that's a story I hear, Ray, all the time. Like every time you talk to people, and I see other interviews and stuff, other podcasts, whatnot, about people that are at a rally. And same thing, you know, as you know, I went to the RNC, and actually Dave was at the RNC, but actually they were both at the RNC with me. And that's the way it was. It was just, everybody was so polite, and people don't, it's a shame what the media is doing to, not just the media, but we got the whole, you know, leftist communist side of the country trying to divide us by talking all these terrible things. And yet the nicest people that you ever meet, they're like good people, they're honest, hardworking people, appreciate one another, curious to one another. Oh no, you go ahead. Okay, thanks, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the whole time.
It was every single person.
Yeah, and people talking, you know, just start up conversation on where you at from, you know, where you're from in the country, or you know, in your case, probably, you know, in the state. And everybody just having a great conversation, loving our country, loving, you know, the whole Trump movement, and realizing that this is it, man. This is it. We got to do this right now. So one of the things you were telling me about that I thought was really cool was when you guys, you and your buddy came across the reporter doing the. I thought that was badass.
Yeah, so I'll get to that. I'll kind of like tell the whole story. I wouldn't say it culminates with that, but that's a good part of the conversation. So we're making that 4 mile, you know, migration to the venue, and we finally get to where the line is to get into the venue is at a place called the Gaylord. It's a really nice upscale hotel, huge, just complex. We've stayed there one time a while back, so we knew exactly where we're going, that sort of thing. But we get to the line, and it is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it was actually overwhelming. We're like, oh no, like we thought we got here in plenty of time. Several hours before the doors were set to open, the line, and they reported back to this. In fact, Trump said it in his speech how long the line was. It was about 4 miles long, the line just to get in. So we walked 4 miles, and then we've got like a 4 mile line to get in.
Oh my gosh. I thought the whole thing was 4 miles when you were telling me.
Say that again?
I thought the whole thing was 4 miles when you were telling me, but no, it's like.
Oh, no. Then the 4 mile line.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Up and around on streets. I saw that in the news. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it lined the street and went down. And so, you know, we're like, all right, you know, we got to get in line. So we're going to keep walking another, however, at the time, we didn't know how long, but it was literally as far as I could see. I was trying my best to see the end of the line, and I couldn't. I just saw heads diminishing, you know, so far away, and it just wrapped around the complex and went as far as you could see. So we're walking to get to the back of the line, and again, like, you know, we're still several hours early. So there is at least that many people behind us that haven't even got to where we've got yet. So there's a massive amount of people. And so we're walking to get to the back of the line, and we see another set of our friends that are in line, probably halfway through. And these are people that we coordinated this with, but they decided to take an Uber from the parking structure to the venue. And we thought, man, like, I don't even know if that's going to be faster. So that's why we didn't end up doing it. That's why we decided to walk. But it turns out to be faster. So it was really great for us because we just hopped in line with them because we asked everybody, is that cool? We're all together kind of a thing. And everybody was like, yeah, of course. So we get in line, and we're just really lucky that we get in line. We probably cut that line by half, I'd say, at least. And so.
But that's okay. But everybody was cordial.
Absolutely. And we literally made sure we asked everybody around us, because told them, you know, that we're all together and that sort of thing, from the same town, that sort of thing. So it was, everybody was great about it. And there was only 4 of us that were making that migration. So it wasn't like a huge crew.
Yeah.
So we get in line, you know, we're just talking with everybody. Everybody's having a good time. I mean, cars are passing this line, honking, trucks with like tons of flags. And it was a true rally, man. And just everybody super positive. And so we're in line for probably at least 3 hours, I'd say, just kind of sitting there waiting. And when they did start letting people in, you got to imagine they're only letting what we heard was 10 people at a time, something like that, because they're vetting everybody that comes through, making sure you're, you know, we thought they would be ticketed, but they didn't even check that. But, you know, of course, you can't bring anything in. They gave a list of, you know, what you cannot bring. So you're going through the metal detectors, all that kind of stuff. So it was not fast. So they're letting in 10 at a time. So the line didn't go very fast.
Did your replacement holder set the machine off?
No, but I was waiting for it.
He had a major surgery, complete shoulder replacement. And
Yeah.
From that and trying to get his range of movement back, but I was wondering if it would set off those metal detectors.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I flew somewhere, I can't remember where it was, but it's only been detected one time in an airport.
Yeah.
You know. But so super cool. So we're in line, and off to the left, there's a relatively major road. There's probably 2 lanes in each direction, and a pretty wide open field after that. This location is out by our airport, so it's a little bit in eastern Colorado to a certain degree. So it's kind of the plain, so it's very flat out here. You don't picture Rocky Mountains and that sort of thing. This is pretty flat land. So there's a great huge field behind us, and then we see 3 people protesting, holding these signs, you know, come all of this, come all of that kind of a thing. So we're, everybody's kind of bantering with them, saying things to them, that sort of thing, playing with them a little bit. But at that point, there was just those 3 protesters kind of walking back and forth, not much more than that. And so, we're laughing, kind of ignoring them at that point. And we get to a point to where they're letting people in, so we start moving a little bit, and we get to a place where we round a corner, and that's where you kind of feel like, okay, we're kind of getting close to the venue, so everybody's getting excited. And then that's where you see the real protesters, and you see the news and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of activity going on, and everybody's kind of checking it out, listening in on people getting interviewed, and kind of getting into it a little bit with some of the protesters and having a nice debate. And so we round this corner, we're walking, and there's an ABC News crew right here interviewing somebody that's there for the rally. And right behind them is 2 people with protester signs. And you got to understand that there's not a lot of protesters, especially relative to the amount of people that are here for the rally. How
many would you estimate?
I would say at that point there were probably 10.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, 10. Like, and it just happened to be in that area, and that 10 is different than those ones I was just telling you about that were a little bit back there. Yeah. This was kind of like an area where it was going to happen because it was finally getting closer to the venue, but not very many protesters at that point whatsoever. So it's directly in front of us where we're trying to walk by where they're interviewing them. And not a big deal because we're not going very fast. But they've got these 2 protesters right behind, perfectly framed in the camera. So, it would appear as if like that's just kind of the environment here. There's a ton of, Trumpsters, but there are a ton of protesters. That's what it would look like. And so my buddy, a good buddy of mine, Tony, 20-year Army vet, goes, hey man, why don't you guys frame this up a little bit differently? You have quite a bit of a biased, camera angle there, and it makes it appear like there's a ton of, protesters, and there's just not. So it's super biased. And I wasn't thinking along those lines. I was just kind of watching it happen. I was glad that he brought that up because it was absolutely true. And so we get into it a little bit with the reporters, and they're saying, like that's not what we're trying to do, and that sort of thing. But it was definitely biased. It was not cool because it just painted a picture that really, it wasn't even remotely close to being true.
Because they didn't apologize to you and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Will you guys be in our shot?"
Yeah, no, they didn't apologize whatsoever. But they did say, "Would you guys like to be interviewed?" And we were just like, "No." Because we just knew that it wasn't going to add much value,
Well, the crazy thing about it, exactly what you're talking about, Ray, is it's overt sometimes with the things that they say and the lies that they will tell and the way they write things like verbally. But you're talking about like physically framing in the camera. People don't like you didn't catch up on that subtlety right away, right? Just like
at all.
you know, but Tony did. And that's the point that they do this on purpose. They intentionally do these things where they frame things up a certain way, and the interviewer's there, and they make it look terrible. They'll stand, in front of the worst looking debris at an event and make it look terrible. Whereas if you just panned out just a little bit, you realize, oh well, that's just a tiny little piece. But it's sensationalism. They want that. They want those clicks or those viewers. They try to sensationalize something. They really completely, and in that case, it's destructive too. Because great event, and they should present. Wow, look at this amazing, all these great people here. Look how big the sign is. And instead of taking the moment like you said to show, or like Tony said, to show a couple of protesters in the back and try to use that. It's like that saying when you put some red ants and some black ants into a jar. You put them in there and they're fine. They get along. All of a sudden, you shake that jar up a little bit, and they get into a big fight. Same kind of thing. They want to shake that jar up on TV to make it like it's some big thing. And whereas, like you were saying, everybody was cool and peaceful with those people, right? I mean, there was no violence, nobody pushing them around. And you look on television, or maybe you won't see it much on television, but you look on social media when conservatives, when patriots, when MAGA people come to their events, to the leftist communist events that are going on, man, it's violent. They're nasty. They're violent. They throw things. They attack them. And whereas we are just peacefully resisting, we are, peacefully and patriotically showing our support for our president and for where we want our country to go. Huge conflict there, but yet the media sits there and tries to frame it up completely differently. It's really. At best, it's disingenuous, but it's realistically, it's just complete and utter. It's vile bias.
Yes, there's no question about it. And
I have a question. Was there was that like 10,000 to 1? 10,000 Trump?
Yeah, maybe more. Maybe more.
That's incredible, and I think that's the way our election is going to go. But I want to keep hearing about your story. Keep going.
Yeah, totally. So we get past that part, and that's pretty much it of the protest area. I think it was getting where they were kind of coordinated and off, and you had to be part of in the line in order to keep going further. So there was no protesters, there was no news beyond that point. So we meander back, and right when you think you're there and you're getting close, you realize like there's a whole other area where you've got to kind of snake back and forth, and they've got it corralled. So it was like, oh man, we're still trying to get in. And this is probably getting close to 1 o'clock or something like that. So, we've been there since 8 a.m, And so long story short, we get through the line, and we make it, we make it through. We get into the venue, and we're probably 3/4 of the way back in the venue. The venue is, I think it held 10,000 people. And so we're probably, 7,500 people before us, I'd say, because there was still a little bit of room behind us. And in very short order, it got absolutely packed. And before Trump went on, but we were like just victorious. Everybody's high-fiving. We got through. What was really amazing, though, is, we had a view of outside. And there were, at the end of the day, so picture 10,000 people in this one gigantic kind of auditorium. And then there's at least 4,000 or 5,000 people outside of the building. I think they had kind of knew that might happen. So they had monitors outside. They had sound systems outside. So everybody that didn't make it into the venue stayed and watched it outside. So it was super cool to be a part of the people that were inside, but to see the dedication of 4,000 or 5,000 people outside the venue watching it and cheering, and you could hear them, and it was really, really cool.
Awesome. So what was most inspirational about it? Was it all of the people, or was it Trump himself, or was it just the whole atmosphere? What was the most powerful thing to you? Was it the people?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say it was the camaraderie of everybody.
Right.
And because I'd never been to a rally like that at all, I just hadn't taken the time to do it. And so, just talking with you for all these years, and the stuff that you go to and stuff like that, it's kind of inspirational to make me want to go. And kind of like those old folks we were talking about earlier, it's like, there is no excuse not to go, not support it. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So, for me, it was more like that. It's like, I'm going this time. I'm not going to come up with some excuse not to go. But so that was very inspirational to me, to see everybody there and see the dedication of like the folks that I told you about early on that made it there literally in walkers. It was incredible. And so that was super cool. And then of course, then you have Trump gets there, and his speech is really fantastic. I was telling Don yesterday, he was in his element, because I feel like there was, I don't know if there was less pressure or whatever you want to call it, but he's with his people, and he was relaxed. He was honest. He was smart. He was aggressive, towards, I wouldn't say attacking his enemies, but, being very honest about, like our governor. He called him a chicken shit. So I thought that was hilarious. And it's in relation to the Venezuelan issues that we've had here in Colorado. And he's just absolutely right. That's exactly what he is, and he's taken our state in a bad direction. And so Trump's just calling it out. And so I felt like he was just really relaxed. I wish he was always like this, because he was, just because I'm a fan, I think that, if he presented this way in some of the more national stages that he's been on, I think he would be able to win some people over when he's just relaxed and honest. That's when he's at his best. And that's exactly how he was.
Awesome.
So what were some other things that tell us like what it was like? So did they play some music, like a lot of events, they play some music? Did other people speak and then somebody introduced him and then he spoke? And then what was it like at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there were other folks that spoke. A couple I didn't know who they were, and they were. I guess we had heard from some people that got there very, very early inside the venue, and I guess it started like at 11. So people, periodically would come in and talk, and we didn't get to see those folks talk. We got there just after a guy came in and spoke. Didn't know who he was because I wasn't there when they introduced him, and he was the one prior to Trump coming in and speaking. So we didn't get to see a lot of that, but I got to see Trump speak, and then Derek Wolf came on. He spoke, and that was awesome. I'm a huge fan of him. He's a Bronco, an ex-Bronco, and I just follow him like on social media because I agree in a lot of stuff that he stands for. He's a hunter. He's shoots a bow and stuff like that, and I just find what he does is very, very cool. And so he came on. He spoke. That was awesome. And then it didn't last too long. It was probably an hour. And then it was just a mass migration out of there, and that was totally chaos.
So afterwards, did you guys have a gathering afterwards to kind of make the trek back home? And
Yep, exactly. So we had to walk about. We couldn't get an Uber from where we were because it was just pandemonium. I mean, everyone was trying to get Ubers, and there were cars coming in. And I should have said earlier, like what the police presence was and the Secret Service presence was. It was really impressive. I mean, there were so much of the police force came out, and they're in complete riot gear. And we had several conversations with them. We're like, "Hey, man, is that a paint pellet gun you got?" And he goes, "Yep, but a lot more spicy." It was like I think either mace balls or tear gas balls, that sort of thing. So they were geared up, and they were a significant portion of the way up and down that whole way we had to walk to get to the venue. They were everywhere.
Awesome.
Hey, Ray, a little bit like Colorado's a little bit like, Oregon in the sense of leaning, blue pretty good. How do you sense, how did the people like you get along with, in a state like Colorado with, a lot of people are going to vote for Harris. How do you see people that you were with yesterday balancing out that time with, with them? How does that perspective go in Colorado right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's a great question. It's a difficult one for me to answer because I live in Douglas County and it is exceptionally red. So I'm in this bubble where I literally don't have a single friend that doesn't, kind of politically align with what I do and my wife does. And so we're in this bubble that we literally are trying to find people to discuss this sort of thing. The only way that I get a little bit of that is at work. So I'm out in different offices every day, and so I get to talk to a lot of people in that way. And I'll tell you what, and I told Don this the other day, I'm really on a quest to understand how they can be excited about their candidate, in voting in that direction. So I've been on this quest to ask really any Democrat or liberal that I find and come into contact with and have a decent discussion with. And I ask every single one of them, just tell me one thing, 2 things about, that candidate, about Harris that you particularly align with, something she's done, something that she's going to do, something in her track record that really makes you excited and is causing you to, want to vote in that direction. And I'm 0 for 30 with them being able to tell me a single thing. And that's the God's honest truth.
0 for
30.
That's not a good batting average.
There's nothing they can't, they're just emotional about it, they just don't like Donald Trump, for various reasons or whatever, but they're not coming from a place of logic. They're not coming from a place of policy that is driving them in that direction. They're angry and they're emotional about this and they're voting in that way. And that's a scary thing when you're voting because you're voting from your gut and emotion, and you don't even know what that person is going to bring to the table. You don't even know what they've done to get there. That's crazy.
Yeah. And that's what's crazy about that too is, Ray, I mean, that's exactly the point. When you talk about they're angry, that's what I find. I try to, I've got to the point where I'm not even bother having a discussion with somebody if I don't determine within the first 5 seconds that they're persuadable. They don't have to believe like I believe, but maybe we can have a decent discussion. And it's really hard to find somebody you can do that with. I recently had a discussion with a guy here in town. Their name is really well known in Michigan, but I'm talking with him. I won't say it because I don't want to let him out. It's not about
sure. Yeah, I get it.
Right, but talking with him, and I know that he's very liberal. I know that he's done some things. He's got a charity that he puts a lot of money into that created films about the water issues going on in Southern Oregon, and that's a travesty of what those people did to the farmers and the fishing industry down there in those rivers.
Sure.
He's involved with that side, the wrong side of this thing. And he's a really nice person. But when I get to talking with him, he tells me, yeah, my wife and I kind of agree. He says, with the progressives just gone too far in this country. We need some good conservatives to get back in a couple of places in office. And he's the only person I've had a reasonable conversation with.
Yeah, right.
So we talk about that. Well, the next time I go out to visit his place, I look over and he's got his white Tesla there with the Harris Walsh bumper sticker in the window. I'm like,
what happened?
What? And I just tell him, I'm like, you got to be kidding me, really? I said, we just had this conversation. You got your bumper sticker there, and we can kind of, talk like that. And he's telling me, I said, well, what is the issue? Kind of like your approach, like what is it about what is it that they're going to do or that they have done that makes you want to support them? Because at this point, don't tell me what you're going to do,
right?
Because what you do speaks so loud, I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
You've been there for 3 years, 4 years, and what have you done? So what is it that they've done? What policies they put in place that you're so in love with that you're going to vote for them? Boy, I really love what you did here and what your policies are here, and I can't wait to cast my vote for you. And the most sacred thing in our country, and that's the direction you're going to go. Why? And we talk about a couple of things, and he doesn't have a defensible position. Then he gets on the abortion issue. Like when they have nothing else to do, they fell back on the abortion issues, how they attack us. And I'm looking at him, and he goes, well, I said, well, what's wrong with it? They put it back in the states' rights. And I believe in smaller government. It should be in the state's hands. And here in Oregon, nothing changed because it's in the state law the way that it is. So nothing changed. Then he begins to say some really ridiculous thing about, well, some women now live in certain states and they're going to have to move out of the state because they can't get an abortion in their state. I said, you know what? That's garbage. The bottom line is a very small fraction of women really, really, I mean, if we really are honest, have that issue, which is, he talks about abortion in the sense of incest or in rape. Like, look,
yeah, the classic arguments. Yeah.
Yeah, classic. Right? And those things are ridiculous because it's obviously a horrible moment, horrible event, and it's tragic, and it's hard to sit there and look at somebody who's been through that and try to give them any opinion about how they should feel or how they should act or what they should do.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, that's the small number and fraction of it, and those are special cases that I think that most people, even Trump, has announced that he believes there should be an exception for those things. But there's a reasonable time frame, in my opinion, too. I mean, birth control is not meant to be. I mean, abortion's not meant to be birth control.
Right.
And they want my body, my choice. Well, when you decided to engage in certain activity, well, you probably grew up having the Animal Planet on your television. You probably know how these things work. You know what the result was going to be. You know, could have been as a result of your body and your choice. Well, at some point, you know, you can make that choice a whole lot earlier than, you know, when you've already got fingernails and hair. And I know I took it on a different path.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I hear you. I mean, I see it like this. Like they're making a you know, from very small. You know, I guess it's not. I don't want to say it's minor, but it is really in the grand scheme of, you know, how important the presidency is and how important the future of our country is, and they're making a decision on this one tiny aspect, you know, and where to me it's much bigger than that. We can debate whether it's right or wrong all day long till we're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, it's about much more than that. It's about the economy. It's about closing the border. You know, it's about a lot of things that are, in my opinion, bigger than that. We can still debate abortion, and we can. I mean, states' rights is for me, it's the way to go. It's the way our Constitution was, you know, envisioned, and it's back to that. And I think that's a good thing. So you're making this massively important decision off this one minor emotional thing to you.
Yeah, I mean, we look at, and what I've kind of taken the approach lately has been asking people, so what is the most important thing to you going on in our country, our state, our country, and or the world right now? What matters the most to you right now? And it's interesting, they're different responses. And what I just say to somebody is, okay, let's say, you know, the border is the most critical thing somebody says. And what's happening. Well, who do you think is going to do a better job on the border? And, you know, we got somebody who has a track record of having done a good job to secure a border, and somebody right now who's allowed hundreds of thousands, millions and millions, tens of millions of people over our border. Which one has a better policy? And they talk about, you know, human trafficking, child trafficking. You know, who has a better record on that? Who has literally lost over 300,000 children that come over the border that the Border Patrol has no idea where they are? So when I ask them, I try to get their engagement that way first, right? Tell me what's important to you. Now let's just say which of these two candidates, forget about names for a second, are stronger on that issue. That seems to help a lot.
Yeah, that's great.
Some people you just can't have that conversation, and it's sad. It's unfortunate that they're just completely closed-minded. It's really discouraging. But what is encouraging is, like, when, you know, to hear from you. That's why I wanted you to come on, and I appreciate you doing it, because when you were talking yesterday, just like now, it's just the power of that event and how much it meant, and how many people need to hear that and know that, and across our country, so they can be inspired to do like you do. Just get out there, get involved, talk with people about it and stuff. You were telling me something too about, speaking to that, you guys went to lunch or whatever afterwards, late lunch afterwards.
Yeah. So another, like you asked me earlier, you know, what was kind of most inspirational about it, and I kind of told you, but it continued all day long. So afterwards, you know, I don't know what time it was, 4 o'clock, 4:30, something like that. So we head back down towards our town, and we go to an adjacent city to go to dinner, because we were famished, like we had nothing all day. And so we get to this restaurant. It's a Mexican restaurant, real good Mexican restaurant. And we go, and we're in full Trump gear, right? You know, and we get in there, and like immediately, the first thing that happens to us, we go to the, you know, we put our name in, it's going to be 10, 15 minutes or something like that. So we go to the bar to get a drink. And as soon as we belly up to the bar, person next to us just like high-fiving us, asked if we went to the rally, how was it, like super engaged with hearing about it. And so we have a really nice conversation with that person. We go kind of to the front to where we're waiting for our table, and another gentleman comes up and walks up to us and gets into a really good conversation with us about it. We go to our table. People are coming up to our table, giving us high fives, knuckle bumps, that sort of thing. We get into some really good conversations. Person next to us, him and his family, they were all at the rally as well. They got there at 6:30 in the morning. Yeah, I mean, with their kids and everything. And that's probably something I should have mentioned before. You should have seen how many kids were there.
Right.
Just and really like just fully in Trump gear and American gear, and it wasn't driven by their families. Like, these kids were there, they were loud, they were proud, they were speaking well about why they're there. So again, like that inspirational piece, it was every bit of that day. It was those kids, it was the old folks making the trek, it was going to the Mexican restaurant and having everybody come up to us and talk to us about stuff. And so it was just a full day. I didn't expect really any of that kind of stuff. In my mind, I was just going for the rally. I wasn't thinking about, all of this stuff that would be part of the entire experience. Like, I had no idea. I just went into it like doing it because I was going to do my part, and it was much more than going to see the Trump talk, And so like we've been talking for 35 minutes, and I've mentioned very little about Trump's speech because it was more than that. It was the whole experience that was just awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray, have you been to a Rockies game, a Broncos game back there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're a sports guy because you got to be if you're Don's brother. But we are too. How sometimes sports is so fun.
Yeah.
We argue about it all day long. I mean, my Minnesota Vikings are 5-0. I'm not sure about your Broncos, but
it's a building year for us.
How do you compare this rally, though, to the sports vibe you would get at a Broncos game, even a playoff game? Because this was a playoff political thing. How would it compare?
Yeah, I would say it wouldn't even compare. I mean, you have some solidarity, some camaraderie when you go to Broncos or Rockies game, but you also have a whole negative side of things that you get there. You get drunk people, you get fights, you get people there for the opposing team, and it gets a little bit gets a little wonky, sometimes. But this rally was nothing up like that whatsoever. It was 100% positive, with the exception of a couple debates that went on with the protesters.
So one more thing I got for you. We're getting close to wrapping up, but a big question I've seen out here, Don, you and I've talked a little bit about this, Judy, you and I've talked, is the hope factor. We're in Oregon. We're pretty blue out this way, even though 95% of the state's geography is red.
Yes.
Portland, Eugene, carry the day for the Democrats. But the hope factor to me is big because, a lot of people are looking at this election as, I don't think there's been an event this big in our country. Not trying to grandstand this thing since
No, you're right.
Pearl Harbor, World War II, for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't around. I was born in 1957. But how do you see the hope factor? Because it seems like a lot of people pin their hopes on Donald Trump to win this election, to save our republic.
Yes.
So back in Colorado, how would you see that?
Yeah, I mean, Colorado, as you guys probably know, is very similar to Oregon. And I went to Southern Oregon, by the way, graduated from there. So yeah, lived in Oregon for a number of years. Yeah. But it's very, very similar. The large metropolitan areas carry the vote. So mostly where you go, you see that hope. You see that in everybody that you talk to. A good percentage of the people that you talk to are like-minded because we make up geography-wise the majority of the state. So the hope is extremely strong here. I mean, I meet people every single day that I may have not gotten into that conversation with unless we were at this kind of this pinnacle, this precipice of where we are in our republic, and so it is strong here. There's something going on. There is something in the air. It's tangible. You can feel it. Like I just feel like we've got something, and we are going to win. I can't even imagine a world where we don't win. That's where I am at now. I can't even wrap my head around if we don't win.
One of the important things you were saying, Ray, that strikes me, this type of thing encourages us to realize that there's a lot of us out there, and it's okay to talk about it, right? To the person next to you. It doesn't mean that it has to even be, it doesn't have to be somebody that you're engaging with, to hopefully that they'll kind of sway, you know, in our direction with their philosophies or their mindset. It can just be the guy next to you, the guy at the table next to you, the person in the line at the grocery store, and give them the encouragement. And then you may find out that there's so many more people around you that need to have that encouragement and feel safe to be able to talk about, hey, this is what's happening in our country. How great is this? Where your, you know, your patriotic stuff. Maybe you're not, you know, brave enough to get your full MAGA on or whatever, but you know, but at least show your patriotism and talk about it and be open, and that encourages somebody else. You never know which person next to you it's going to inspire to go to the next, you know, to actually go, like, you know, either get involved or just be like, give them some encouragement and some hope for what's going on. My wife and I went out for dinner the other night, and a similar thing. We're sitting at a table, some people at the other end of the table. We're having our dinner. There's a little thing is said, little thing said here. Next thing you know, you're engaged, talking.
Yeah, exactly.
100% involved. He finds out the stuff that I'm doing. He goes, I need to talk with you. I need to get involved. You let me know what I can do. How can I support you? How can I come to some of these things you're doing? Wow,
Don?
great conversation.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you just.
I'm so proud. You're so brave.
I mean,
You're so brave.
Look at that.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, that's sweet. Here we go. How sweet is that thing?
That is outstanding. I guess I should have wore my gear.
Ray, my favorite hat I wear on the show quite a bit is a deplorables hat, so I wear that. Hey, I think as we wrap up, we see how much we appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, of course, anytime, man.
A brother like Don, he's
Great job, bro.
been a great guy. My last question to you is, as Ray Powers, Colorado, what would you say to everybody on Stand Tall with Dave and Judy Brown about why Donald Trump is the right person to be president, and what will he do for this country?
Yeah, I mean, he's the right guy for this country because, you know, remember how life was 3.5 years ago. It was so much better than it is now. Remember how it felt going to the grocery store then. Think about how it feels now. It is. You can feel the difference, not just in your pocketbook, but you feel the difference in the country. We're more divided than ever. We need to get rid of that. Like, you know, we're working towards getting to a place where we're all one, you know, and the last 3.5, 4 years has really done, in my opinion, the exact opposite. We're at a place now that I don't recognize in my lifetime, and I want to get back to a place to where America is on the right track, and we know that the future is bright for us.
Yeah.
Well, Ray, I appreciate that. You know, we agree 100% with you. I think it's you know, stand tall. You know, we're trying to push people to stand up, stand tall. Sounds like we're doing that back in Colorado. Don says nothing great stuff about you, and that's what we're trying to get people, just to recognize what's going on, at least have a little bit more knowledge about the candidates, standing tall for their families, and stand tall for their neighborhoods, their communities. Get involved, do something. Not everybody has to be a candidate, but that's what stand tall means. That's what we're trying to push. So let everybody know they're in Colorado. I have a sister that lives in Colorado. I'd love to have her sit down and have a talk with you. You might not agree on much. I wish we would sit down and have a talk with you. So
yeah, it'd be lovely, man. I'd love it.
Yeah, we've been to Colorado a couple times back there to visit, and we watched the game last night. That was a tough loss for you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh man, I didn't like that call at the end. That was a tough play to try to, when your season, you know, that game's on the line. That was a tough call. But anything to add, you guys, and then we'll wrap.
I just want to say, hey, bro, love you, man, and thanks for taking time. And really, like I said, it was really inspirational. That enthusiasm you have about that is contagious, and I hope a lot of people see this episode and catch that fever from you, man.
Yeah, me too. Just, you know, 100% genuine, man.
Yeah, keep the fever. You and your wife and your friends, just keep it up.
Yes, we will. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it very much.
Peace out.
Take care.
Yeah, take care.
Going. And remember, if you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter.
I'll see you guys.
This end will get cut.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Hey, that's okay. I would say it too. My students should say it too.